In this video lecture, we will go through Coleridge's law of independent migration of ions. So Coleridge studied molar conductivities of pair of electrolytes having a common cation or an anion, right, at infinite dilution, and he reached at conclusion saying that the molar conductivities of strong electrolytes at infinite dilution is equal to the sum of the ionic conductivities of anions and ionic conductivities of cations multiplied by the number of anions and cations in the formula of electrolyte, right? If I want to just explain what it means, taking an example, Coleridge said that at infinite dilution, the molar conductivity at infinite dilution of an electrolyte, let's take electrolyte as BaCl2, barium chloride. It has, when you add it to water, it will form one barium ion and two chloride ions, right? So as per Coleridge's law, the molar conductivity at infinite dilution of barium chloride would be equal to the ionic conductivities, the sum of ionic conductivities of cations and anions. Ionic conductivities of barium, ionic conductivity of barium ions plus ionic conductivities of chloride ions multiplied by the number of ions present in the formula of the electrolyte. Two chloride ions are present in barium chloride and one barium ion. So we will multiply ionic conductivity of chloride ion with 2 because we have two chloride ions in the formula of electrolyte barium chloride. So this is what Coleridge said. And he studied pair of electrolytes like these, potassium chloride and sodium bromide, right, possessing a common anion. Here common anion is chloride ion and here common anion is bromide ion. And when he calculated the molar conductivities of these electrolytes, right, he found that the difference between these comes out to be the same, right? So as per these calculations, it means that these molar conductivities doesn't depend upon the anion which is present, which is a common anion, right? So in a way, this difference is the difference in the ionic conductivities of potassium ions and sodium ions in both the cases. Bromide ions or chloride ions doesn't affect, right? So here it means that ionic conductivity of sodium ion and potassium ions, right, doesn't depend upon chloride ion. Ionic conductivity of chloride ion, it means that these ions are independent of one another. The ionic conductivities of these ions are independent of one another. They do not depend on one another, right? And this is what it says, Coleridge's law of independent migration of ions, right? We'll understand this, what it means, but for now, from here, from these calculations, he concluded that ionic conductivity of one ion doesn't depend on the other ion, right? Let's understand how. In the previous video lecture, we have already understood how molar conductance varies with the concentration, right? And we have studied a graph based on Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation, right, where we calculated the molar conductance at infinite dilution or at zero concentration for strong electrolytes, right? Now let's just recall that concept again. We'll understand how conductivity varies as the dilution increases, right? If we take, say, a concentrated solution, suppose this is a solution and it contains potassium ions and chlorine ions, right, and they are moving randomly. At present, this is a concentrated solution, that means it contains less water, right? So in concentrated solution that contains less water, although strong electrolyte potassium chloride is completely dissociated even at small or low concentrations, but what about the interaction of ions in the strong electrolytes in case of concentrated solution? When the solution is concentrated, how these ions behave in the concentrated solution? In concentrated solution that contains less water, these ions are close to one another, right? And when these ions which are oppositely charged are close to one another, that means they experience interionic force of attraction, right? So we say at high concentration, interionic force of attraction exists. And if I say I connect these electrodes, now we have a battery here, right? If I take this electrolyte at this concentration in an electrolytic cell, then what about its movement? These are chloride ions, suppose this is anode and this is cathode, right? So at anode anions will move, at cathode cations will move, right? But this is a concentrated solution, which means that these ions are close to one another and they are experiencing interionic force of attraction. So this interionic force of attraction in case of concentrated solutions, right, will retard the motion of these ions, because when you pass electric current, these ions will move towards their respective electrodes and get discharged. But when they move, right, in concentrated solutions, their motion is retarded, right, due to the interionic force of attraction, right? This is in concentrated solution. That means since the interionic force of attraction exists, so their motion is not independent of one another, right? The motion of potassium ion depends on the chloride ions, because chloride ion is experiencing a force on potassium ion. Similarly, chloride ion is experiencing a force from potassium ion, right? So there is interionic force of attraction and their motion is not independent of one another. It depends on the interionic force of attraction, and due to this interionic force of attraction, the motion is hindered, or the migration of or the movement of ions is retarded, we say, due to interionic force of attraction. So I write it as, at high concentration, interionic force of attraction exists, due to which movement of ions is retarded, right? Movement of ions is retarded. And why there is interionic force of attraction? Because in concentrated solution, both these oppositely charged ions are close to one another, right? Like this. Let's make it like this. These are oppositely charged ions and there is an interionic force of attraction. So their motion in concentrated solution is dependent on one another. Is dependent on one another because of this force of attraction, right? Now, if I try to find out the molar conductance, if I apply this formula here, this is, if I say the conductivity of potassium chloride in this concentrated solution is equal to the sum of the ionic conductivity of barium, here the potassium ions plus chloride ions, right? This is the case. In this case, the motion of these ions are not dependent on one another, right? These ions doesn't experience any force of attraction or interionic force of attraction, right? So if I try to apply this law here, I write the conductivity is equal to the ionic conductance of potassium ions plus ionic conductance of chloride ions, right? But this conduction is due to movement of ions, right? And this movement is retarded due to a force that is acting between these ions, right? So somewhere I cannot write the molar conductivity as the sum of the ionic conductivity of these ions, right? Because there is force of attraction in concentrated solution, and this force of attraction is playing, right, and is retarding the ionic conductance, right, retarding the motion. And we know that at when the electrical conductance depends on the movement of ions, right, or the mobile ions, the ions that are free to move, they conduct high electric current compared to the ions that are retarded in such cases, right, in concentrated solution, right. So Coleridge's law is not applicable for electrolytes in concentrated solution, because we have this interionic force of attraction which is hindering these ions, right, when they are moving towards the opposite electrodes when electric current was passed. Now let's take another case, or let's say what happens if I add water to it, if I dilute it, right. We know that when we dilute a solution, right, on dilution ions move apart, right, ions move apart and they are more free to move when you add water to it. And we know that water has a property of dielectric constant, or every solvent has some dielectric constant, right, and we know that water has a maximum dielectric constant. So if I add water to this concentrated solution, due to its dielectric constant, it will lessen the force of attraction or the interionic force that is acting between these ions. So when the force of attraction is lessened, they are more free to move towards their respective electrodes, right. So the ionic conductivity or the molar conductance will increase on increasing the dilution, or when we add water to it, right. Now suppose if I keep adding water, right, and if I keep adding water and say I reach at zero concentration, if I make the concentration of this solution as zero, then we say that the dilution is infinite, right. That is, if I keep on increasing dilution of this solution, at one point its concentration will become zero, right. Then at that point when the concentration will become zero, or at infinite dilution, the interionic force of attraction will completely disappear, right, between that was acting between these two ions in concentrated solution, right. So we say at infinite dilution, right, or at zero concentration, because at infinite dilution the concentration will become zero. At zero concentration, there is no interionic force of attraction acting between these oppositely charged ions. So the movement of these ions, right, here is not affected by one another. That is, their movement is independent of one another now, right. Because as we keep on increasing the dilution, we said that on dilution ions will move apart, right. So at infinite dilution, ions will move apart completely, and there is no force of attraction and there is no interionic, or we say that these ions will completely move apart and there is no interionic force acting between them. There is no interionic force acting between them, so they are moving as if the other ion doesn't exist, right. So that means their motion is now independent, which is what we have to understand, independent migration of ions. This independent migration of ions is only in solutions that have zero concentration or solutions at infinite dilution, right. there is no interionic force of attraction. They move apart completely, and there is no interionic force of attraction, or there is no interionic force acting between them, and ions are moving independent of one another. Independent of one another. Right? So in this solution, if I take this solution, say, and if I take this at zero concentration, if this is at zero concentration or infinite dilution, then one ion is here. These ions are completely apart, right? This is a positive ion. Now negative ion is here. Again, positive ion here, negative ion here, right? So they are far apart from one another, and their movement is not affected by the other ions, oppositely charged ions. Right? Movement of this potassium ion is not affected by this chloride ion, and this movement of this ion is not affected by this ion. So we say these ions are moving independent of one another at infinite dilution or at zero concentration. Right? So this is what Coleridge's law said. And at this point, at infinite dilution, if I calculate the molar conductance, right? So what is molar conductance? Just to revise what we have understood, what we have gone through in previous lectures. Molar conductance is conducting power of all ions when 1 mole of electrolyte is added to solution. Right? So molar conductance here would be sum of all these ions. Right? Molar conductance would be equal to the ionic. Okay, one thing. In the electrolytic cell, when we say that when you pass electric current through solution of an electrolyte, these ions will start moving towards their opposite electrodes, and they conduct electricity, and the electricity is conducted by the movement of ions. Right? So since electricity is conducted by the movement of these ions towards opposite electrodes, so it is these ions that are carrying current. Right? So they are, in a way, they are conducting current, right? They are they are conducting current in the solution of this electrolyte, right? Which is known as ionic conductivity, which we have understood, which we have just mentioned here, ionic conductivity. So ionic conductivity is the conductivity of these ions, right? So here, since these ions are moving independent of one another, now I can apply Coleridge's law in this, because there is no force of attraction between the ions, right? So molar conductance at infinite dilution or at zero concentration is equal to the sum of ionic conductivities of these positive ions plus the ionic conductivities of all these negative ions, right? Since this electrolyte, the example we have taken is of potassium chloride, right? So here, if we take 1 mole of potassium chloride, 1 mole of potassium chloride contains 1 potassium ion and 1 chloride ion, right? So it would be the ionic conductivity of potassium ions plus ionic conductivity of chloride ions. Sum of ionic conductivities of potassium ions and chloride ions multiplied by the number of ions, which is 1 here. So this is your Coleridge's law, and is applicable only for solutions at zero concentration or at infinite dilution, because at high concentration there is an interionic force of attraction that exists, right, due to which the movement of ions is retarded, right? So that retardation, the retardation of ions when you take the solution at infinite dilution is completely gone, right? So now these ions are moving independent of one another, right? And this is what Coleridge's law of independent migration of ions. right? So we say what Coleridge also said, that each ion makes a definite contribution towards the total molar conductivity of an electrolyte, because I said that it is these ions that are current carriers, right? So these ions are carrying these ions are carrying current or conducting current in this electrolyte. So the conductivity due to these ions is known as ionic conductivity. So each ion contributes, give a definite contribution towards total molar conductivity, right? Which is, molar conductivity is due to the ionic conductivities, some of the ionic conductivities, right? Irrespective of the nature of the other ion, right? Irrespective of the nature of the other ion means the ionic conductivity of positive ions doesn't depend on the nature of negative ions, because these are far apart. When we dilute a solution, these ions move far apart. So one ion doesn't depend in any way, or the conductivity of one ion is not dependent on other, or is not affected by other ion in any way. Right? This individual contribution of ion is called ionic conductivity. Right? So this is conducting current, this is conducting current, positive and negative ions. So conductivity due to these positive negative ions is your ionic conductivity, or the contribution of these ions, right? This is your ionic conductivities, right? So I hope all this is clear to you. In the next video lecture, we will go through the applications of Coleridge's law. Thanks.